2025 Xpress H20 1-year review. We're gonna go over the pros, the cons. I'm gonna go through a couple of dealer updates on like some warranty issues that I had with the boat. And there's like one or two more little cons that came up on the boat. And I'm gonna make sure to focus a lot on the pros this time because I love this boat and this boat is awesome. And at the end of the video, I'm gonna go over whether I would buy it again, you know, once we weigh out all of the cons and exactly what the dealer said about the warranty. This time, we're gonna go over the pros first because last time I got into the cons and next thing you know, that's all I talked about the whole time. I just bashed the boat, that's what I felt like, and it didn't deserve that 100%. So, the pros. The 115 show that it's got on it is plenty of power for the 20-foot boat. I have a 17 pitch prop. It's a 13.5 inch, I think. 13.5 inch, 17 pitch prop, and it will push this boat 43, 44 miles an hour. That is about the top speed with the 17 pitch 3-blade. Now, I know some people have the 18, 19, 20 pitch, 21 pitch, and they run up to 50s with these motors in these boats. But for me, I like this one. It gets me up on plane easy in shallow water, and it's got tons of torque and takeoff power. The boat itself is super duper light. I mean, pulling it down the road is so much lighter than my 16-foot fiberglass that I used to have. It's easy to maneuver. If you had to move it around on the trailer a little bit, like if it was like on the boat ramp, you could, but I've never had a problem loading it. It loads so simple on this trailer, so that is definitely a plus. It handles chop really good. I mean, it's the hyperlift hull. I've had it in big waves, and then just rough chop, you know, where it's just chop, 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 chop. I mean, it's not bad. It's really not bad. My last video, we actually got into some pretty good chop. Of course, on the video, it doesn't do it justice, but seeing as what I had been in before, where we're getting soaked and sprayed, you know, it handled it very well. It's super stable. I mean, if we walk around to the back side of it and just look at how wide it is, and probably looking at some of the drone shots of this thing, I mean, compared to my truck, it is super wide. I mean, this thing it's really stable in the water. And so I can't complain about that. It is amazing. Towing it and launching it is super duper easy. By yourself, no problem. I'm about to do it here shortly. Maybe if the boat ramp slows down, it's pretty wide open, but I'm gonna launch this thing by myself just to kind of show you how easy it is to launch. And it's just so light and the trailer fits it so perfectly, it basically self-loads. Towing it down the road, it's so light. I mean, my truck, I get like 21 miles to the gallon. With pulling the boat at 70, 75 miles an hour down the road, it gets about 15 or 16. So it's really not that bad for a 20-foot boat, you know, fully loaded with gear, going to Florida, up and downhill, whatever. So another pro is the layout and the storage of this thing. It is awesome. So I think I've talked about it in the front compartment, you have this pull-out tote right here, which stays pretty well dry. In the front, the rest of the whole front is hollow. Now that can get wet because it is the hull of the boat, but I mean, that's where I keep my life jackets and stuff. They don't get wet unless you're like washing the boat, or I guess if you take water over the side, it will. You've got the dual rod storage on both sides. So the rod storage for me, I just keep all of my stuff in there. I got buoys and ropes on this side, tackle boxes and smaller nets and stuff on this side. This is what I use for trash. I just keep the plug in it, the front bait well. You do have your box storage here where you can put your trays in there. It's like a little cutting board or table, whatever you want to have right here. I keep lures, scissors, all of that stuff in here. So to me, the layout is a super big plus. Tons of storage, and all of it becomes completely usable deck space to easily run around on. So moving on to the back, I've showed this in the previous video, but I want to show it again. You have your coolers. These will hold a little over 20 pounds of ice. There is one on both sides. So you have it's a good bit of deck space, but you have your coolers there. So if you fold both of those down, then you have seats, which are nice. And then we put them down. So one of the cons that we're gonna get to eventually is a little bit of rust. That bolt, you can kind of see it. That one, why that one? Maybe it had a scratched the stainless off, I don't know. That one there had a little bit of rust on it. We have our live well. It is a big live well. It'll hold, now I put 80 pounds of ice in it. It was packed, but I put 80 pounds of ice in it. I didn't go through this compartment last time, but I want to go through it just a little bit. So you have your fuel tank, 40-gallon tank, water separator. You can see your bilge pump and your aerator pump down there. You have your starting battery. Okay. This compartment will get kind of dirty. You can't really tell because I've recently cleaned it. So I'll bleach this one every once in a while. Actually, I've only bleached it once in 1 year. Kind of bleached the inside, wet it down, and bleached it, and then rinsed it out again, you know, just to keep it so that it didn't get out of control. All right, so storage here. I put this on there just so I can keep my remote, my registration, whatever in there. Fire extinguisher, batteries. You got your 60 amp circuit breaker, which the dealer just installed. You got these holes in the floor where all the wires go. One goes to the front, one goes to the back. It's really easy to pull wires through this boat. That is really a really nice thing that they did. That is easy to get to. I can get my shoulders up in there if I need to. It's not bad. Cup holders, phone holder up here. That makes it nice. It makes for an easy day on the water. These catwalks right here where the measuring boards are, believe it or not, make things a lot easier on your life when you're running on this boat out in the water. So when you're running around front and the back of the boat real quick in a hurry, you can easily run down these things right here, and front to the back of the boat travel is much easier than having to step down, and that is a huge thing. Even for my larger friends who are just like, dude, I could not do without that. It is awesome, for sure. Plus, it makes for an easy place to measure your fish right here, if you need to measure fish, which hopefully you will. All right, we're gonna go through some of the cons. Some of these, if you've seen my previous reviews, then you know about some of them. And also this is gonna be a dealer update as well, because it just got back from the dealer. So the seat, to me, this was the most disgusted thing that was wrong with my boat. The seat has 4 screws right here that hold it on. Okay, the first time when I bought the boat, the seats, they were stripped out. So you could easily pull that forward and the seat would fall off. They sent me a new seat, which I put on very carefully. There is a little bit of a backer. You can't, I mean, it's not very thick, but there is a backer right there. So you can kind of see that. And that's what them screws go into. And I guess if you're not, the guy told me there was a Zert screw back, or a Zert nut back there behind it, but how would you find that? I mean, there's no marks. So anyways, the dealer did fix it for me. They made like a little thing about it. They said, well, since it's the 3rd seat, we had to do a little bit of arguing with Xpress, but they took care of it. So I've got my new seat. It is fixed. It is a lot stronger. The trolling motor, that is an aftermarket trolling motor the dealer put on for me. So the trolling motor that came on it was a 70-pound thrust, hand controlled. It was 24 volt, but it was 70-pound thrust, hand controlled. I had them upgrade to the 80-pound thrust, Tarova remote controlled, you know. They installed it for me, and they put a 50 amp circuit breaker on there. Just the one with an auto reset. It didn't have a button on it. So, and they put it, you know, in there on top of the battery. After a couple of trips hitting some heavy wake, some heavy current, a lot of wind, it would overheat that breaker and pop it. I looked it up, it takes a 60 amp circuit breaker. I told them about it, and they did install one for me. So they put a 60 amp circuit breaker there. I'm not gonna lie, the location ain't gonna work for me. I haven't fixed it yet, but I'm gonna pull them 2 screws out and I'm gonna raise it up and mount it on something, because when you wash the boat, mainly when you wash the boat, but the water will get in here. Okay, just a little bit, but water will puddle right there and it drains very slowly. So that area gets wet. I'm sure it's waterproof, but just like my charger up there, I mounted it on like some 1/2 inch spacers, so it's not directly on the bottom, water can go under it. I'm gonna do that thing the same way, because I just don't want it to be possibly just sitting in puddled water. And if you were to take a big wave over the boat, then you know it could get wet too. And another place water comes from is the pole holders. So all the pole holders and the cup holders have a drain in the bottom. Well, guess where they go? Right there. So that's where water gets inside the boat. especially when you're washing it. I don't leave it in the rain. It stays in the carport, but you know, water gets in there. That's the main thing. So that doesn't need to be in the floor. I'm gonna fix it. No big deal. I'm glad they put it on for me. I'm not 100% sure if it's I'm pretty sure it's just an off-brand, but you know, it is what it is. I haven't tested it yet. We're gonna test it today and find out how it works out. The next thing, one of the other cons that we had, actually no, this wasn't in one of the videos before, but the fender. All right, the fender on the other side has multiple welds holding it on. This one did not. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's 2 welds there, 1, 2, and there's no welds there. On the other side, there's welds there. And then on this side, there was a weld, and you can see both of those welds broke. I guess you can see that, right? The welds broke. Okay. And there's no welds on the side. On the other side, I'm gonna show you real quick. Sorry for the difficult angles here. But you see, weld, 2 welds up front, 2 welds on the side, 2 welds on the back. They just missed 2 welds on that side on the trailer, all right? 1 year ago I bought the boat. Xpress did not warranty it. They said, nope, it's 1 month out of warranty. We're not gonna fix the trailer. So that sucks. I think Ashley Marine could have done it since I did buy the boat there, but they did not. They did not do it. The trailer wiring was messed up and not working. So I complained about that, and miraculously they fixed it and then realized it wasn't under warranty. So they said they were gonna charge me $42 for that because they fixed it and it wasn't under warranty. We're gonna get to all that. We're gonna get to all that. So one of the other cons that I mentioned in one of my previous videos about this boat is this front bait well. If you turn it on and leave it on, which you would if you had bait in there, you'd want it to circulate. It fills up so close to the top that if you're rocking the boat hard or you're running across water bouncing, then water will slowly trickle out of this corner right here and run down the side of the boat. Now, if you're in salt water, like I am always, that's not gonna be so great. As you can see the rust, whatever screw is holding this handle on, rusted underneath there. And I've got to get down there and take it apart, get that screw out of there and try to polish that back down so that it quits rusting. Okay, that one right there did the same thing. That screw is starting to rust there, all right? As well as right there. I do salt off the boat and rinse it heavily. So about that, the drain can't be moved. I mean, I guess it could be, but I don't care that much. I don't keep bait. If I keep bait in the boat, then I'm just gonna get a little, whatever you call it, a little bait wheel and set it in the boat. So for that, I keep the plug in it, it stays dry, and I use that as extra dry storage. Mainly I use it as a trash can, I'm not gonna lie. So for that, I ain't worried about it. But if you're buying this boat and you're counting on keeping shrimp or minnows or whatever alive, just know you might need to invest in like a separate pump that just, you know, circulates the water that's in there at the whatever level you fill it up to. Because if you let water just flow in to go out the drain, the pump is gonna win. The drain is not gonna win, okay? Does that make sense? Keep that in mind. The rear live well, no problem. You can run that pump all day. It will never overflow. So they got half of it right. All right, a new problem that nobody knows about yet. I didn't make a video on it. In the moment, I was a little concerned. I was 9 miles offshore. We were doing a lot of drift fishing. And what you do is you go out there, you cut the motor off. Whatever way the wind's blowing, the boat drifts. Well, we want to fish with the wind to our backs, 2 of us, so we want the broadside of the boat, right? Drifting in the wind. To do that, sometimes you can turn the motor like a rudder, get the boat the right angle and fish. All right. Well, we were drifting and we had trimmed the motor up a little bit. And having the motor trimmed up, you can see right now, it's already hitting right here, all right? If you trim up any higher than that, obviously what's gonna happen is it's gonna pinch even harder. Okay, remember how I said we're using the motor as a rudder while we're drifting? So what we found with this boat was it was better to have the motor just partly in the water, like just this much in the water. So we needed to trim it up some, but you needed to be able to turn it to control where you're drifting. So we had it up about this high, we turned it to the right. All right, take a look at this and imagine for yourself. If you turn this motor to the right now, what is this gonna do? It is gonna pinch so badly because as you can see, the motor's straight and it's here. If you turn this motor, this is gonna get right here. You have no room. What does it do? It pulls the fuel line and rips the fuel line inside the cowl right there. So there's a double male right there. You can see one of the C-clamps. The other side is hard to get to. You gotta get all these hoses out. There's a little fitting in there that all 10 hoses go through. And I'm gonna tell you now, it is a nightmare, especially on the water in the ocean floating. So you gotta take 4 10mm bolts out, pull that whole thing out. There's 2 sleeves that pop on it. Dude, it is a catastrophe. It was a mess. Okay, it was hard. I got it back together. You got the fuel line connected. None of it was together right, but the boat would run. So I took it to the dealer, knowing that I cut the fuel line, and I had to cut 1 inch off the fuel line because it ripped in a weird way. So I cut 1 inch off the fuel line. One problem was the fuel line was already so short that when it pinched like that, it pulled tension on the fuel line, which was very tight because it was short. So now I've cut 1.5 inches or more off that fuel line. I take it to the dealer, Ashley Marine in Salem, Alabama. That's their service center. I tell him about this and he goes, our mechanic looked at it and said everything was good to go. And I was like, well, it most certainly is not, because I put it together with the random things that I found in my boat, and it is barely holding and it is very, very rigged. So you gotta take another look at it, okay? At the end of this video, I'm gonna go through a whole thing about the dealer, exactly what they said. So that's all I'm gonna leave that at for now. But eventually, they did take it apart. They did put everything back together right. They didn't add any fuel line, so my fuel line is still a little short, but they did put it back together. They did put a new clamp on it and made sure that it was, you know, basically how it came from the factory. And they said, don't trim it up any higher than that. And don't trim it up if the wheel is turned to the right, because they said it's a very common problem with the Xpress H series. So my buddy has a 2026. There's another video gonna be comparing them soon. And his doesn't have that problem because he has a jack plate. So his motor is higher and further away from the boat. So that is a potential option if you wanna get a jack plate. But after seeing his and comparing them, I don't need a jack plate. I do just fine with how I am right here. So a couple more things that I've done to the boat. All right, I have the trolling motor, right? I already told you that. I got it mounted at the dealer. I did mount that bracket on there to hold that end, and I did mount the slide bracket on here. I still have the same slide bracket. It has some play, not a lot, but it has a little wiggle to it. So I put that bracket on there for traveling down the road just so that it's more stable. Okay, so you know, that's one thing that you need to do, probably if you have one of these trolling motors. This ain't one of the longest ones, but if you have one over 60 inches, you definitely need to get that on there. Get one that's stainless steel, because that one's not, and it's already got rust happening on it. Another thing that I added to the boat was the Garmin 9-inch. So it's the EchoMac 93 SV, and I think it's awesome. It does really, really good. It's very fast, and I'm used to Garmin. I've always had Garmin, so that's what I have for there. I did add the pole holders, 4 across the back, 2 up top right there. In my last video, I said they were $50 a piece, but they're $50 for a pair of 2. They have them way cheaper. You can get like $50 for 4, but you're getting what you pay for. They won't tighten down and they'll start rusting. $50 for 2, I got 6. You do the math, that's how much it cost. They're worth it for sure, especially if you're trolling or you're just fishing off the side and you're side casting a lot. You don't want them poles sticking up right there. So it's helpful for sure. I did add the bungee cord to it. You don't have to add that if you don't want to, but your fender will fly off probably. So we're gonna get that welded eventually, and we'll see how that works out. So I did add the trolling motor plug right here. So, or the charging for the trolling motor batteries. Plug that up and it'll charge all my trolling motor batteries easily. That was very cheap. I think this thing was probably less than $10 for the plug itself. It did have good reviews as far as rust goes. That's why I got it. And it's doing good. I mean, here we are the year, and that thing don't have a speck of rust on it. So good there. Dude, the boat is beautiful still. I'm gonna show you, it has like 2 scratches on it, which were my fault. It comes so clean. After coming from fiberglass boat, oh man, it sucks having fiberglass. It is a no-brainer how easy this is to clean. You clean it with any kind of car wash, wax, whatever you want, or whatever, and it just comes spotless clean easily. And if you have a rag, when you take it out of a lake, just wipe it down real quick with the rag, a wet rag. Just run down the side of it, and boom, done. You don't even have to clean it after that. So going on 13 and a half months with it, and it still looks brand new to me. So the C-deck, I pressure wash it now with just Dawn dish soap, and it works really well. Let the Dawn dish soap sit on there and work for a while. You're gonna get scratches and stuff like this on it. I mean, unless you just don't use it. And but I have found now I'm not scared of it as much as I was in the beginning, and I pressure wash it. I don't use a big pressure washer. I use an electric one, so it's not too much power. Because if you use a heavy one, this right here is what you'll get. You will scuff that C-deck. Don't use like a gas-powered 3000 PSI. If you do, you better keep it away from it. Don't scar it. A couple rust spots here and there. The same screw on both sides rusted for whatever reason. If I had to guess, it's stainless steel, but they just scratched it up real bad when they put it in. So, you know, whatever. I'm gonna take that screw out. There's about 5 screws to replace on the whole boat, and it should be good to go. The only scratches on the boat right there, which was because I was docked up, or I was tied off to another boat. Big waves came, his boat just caught the side perfectly right there. Besides that, I don't have no scratches on it. It is like immaculate still. That step right there was very cheap. That step helps you awesome when you're getting off the boat by yourself loading it. You just come off the front right here, step onto that step, you can latch it up easily, and you're good to go. All right, so overall, I would 100% recommend this boat. Like 100% I would recommend getting one of these. Even if you're like a professional, like I would get one of these. You would probably want to go bigger than a 20 foot, I guess, maybe, I don't know. But this has everything that you'd need for 2 people to fish, or 3 people to fish, or if you're just like a beginner and you're gonna be putting 4 people in the boat, then you're fine. This is all you need. It has, it isn't fully loaded, you know what I mean? There's a lot more you could do to it. You could do power poles, all of that stuff, and I don't have all of that. So this thing is plenty. It's super light, it's super quick, it handles so good. It gets on plane like that. And man, coming from a fiberglass boat and having little problems here and there that just come with having a 25-year-old boat, I see this thing lasting a long, long time. Here we are 1 year, and there is no wear and tear from time on this boat at all. Everything on it is solid. Remember in the first video, the deck, it does have that weird spot right there where the aluminum flooring is buckled up a little bit because there's one weld missed. They said I could take it back and get that fixed. I don't care about it. I really don't. I'm not gonna lose the boat for 2 months over it, or 3 months, however long it's gonna take. But because the hull is lifetime warranted. Anything happens to the hull, structural wise, whatever, it is lifetime warranted. So I'm not even gonna worry about it. There are some little things, as we went through, some cons to it, which there probably is gonna be with any boat. But I would 100% recommend this boat. If your budget is under 50,000 or even under 40,000, they have a boat like this for you. So I would just be careful where you get it. Look at reviews, find out how the service center treats you, because that's what we're about to get into. The dealer update. All right, so I dropped the boat off on a Saturday. This was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I had talked to them about it. They said the service department is open Saturday, but even if it wasn't, I could drop it off. Salespeople would be there. They could take the boat in for me. All right, so I took it on a Saturday morning. I dropped it off. I gave them a list of the things wrong with it, and they said, oh yeah, all this looks like it would be warranted for sure. We'll call you on Monday and go over it, and if there's any questions, they'll call you Monday. Okay. Monday rolls around, the whole week went through. About Wednesday, that first week, I called them, and I did not get an answer. I called them again Thursday and Friday. I didn't get no answer. I might have called them that Saturday, I'm not 100% sure. But then the weekend passed, and I still hadn't heard from them. And at this point, I'm not gonna lie, I was worried because I dropped it off with the salesman, and it was in the middle of the parking lot. He said, yeah, just leave it right there. And I'm kind of like, after a week of not hearing from him, I was pretty worried. I was like, I hope the boat's still there and someone didn't just take it or whatever. But anyways, the next week rolls around. I called Monday, Tuesday, no answer. And now I left a voicemail Friday or Saturday. I left a voicemail Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then on Thursday, the sales manager calls me, or the service manager calls me. Not to call me back, but just to call me and say, all right, we've got the boat taken care of. You're all good to go. And I'm like, okay, what'd you do to it? And I want to make sure everybody understands, I'm not just bashing this dealer. I'm sharing my experience. And the communication was bad. Okay, so I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was bad. He calls me on Thursday to tell me the boat's done. And I'm like, all right, what'd you do to it? And he's like, well, we checked it over. First thing we did was we fixed the trailer wiring. Then we realized it wasn't under warranty, so that's going to be $42, no big deal. We can't fix the fender because it's not under warranty, but if you want to get a quote on us having a third party come weld it, then let me know and we can do that. And I'm like, all right, no. He's like, all right, for the trolling motor, we can't find anything wrong with it. And I'm like, I explained it further. I'm like, the circuit breaker mounted on top of the battery is a 50 amp that I bought at a gas station or like a bait and tackle shop in Florida because it left me stranded. It's not the right one. It needs to have a 60 amp. He goes, all right, yeah, we'll look at it. And then he said for the fuel line being pinched, it is a common problem with Xpress, but their mechanic looked at it and said that there was nothing wrong with it. And that's when I told him there is something wrong with it. It's rigged and buttoned back together incorrectly, but at least the fuel line's not leaking anymore. So he said, we'll take a look at it again, but he said that it was good to go. And basically that's what we have to go off of. The mechanic says it's good, then it's good. Then the seat. He said he sees in the system that I had a free seat sent to me under warranty, but this will be the third one. That was a little bit of an issue, but they ordered it. It would be 7 to 8 weeks when they get it, and then I would have to bring it back 3 hours, have them put the seat on correctly. Okay. Now this was on a Thursday. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. So basically the boat's ready for me to pick up. And he's like, no, let's look at the trolling motor and the fuel line one more time, and then you can pick it up. I'll call you and let you know. I'm like, okay. Thursday. Friday, Saturday rolls around, no call back. The next week comes around, I call him on Monday, he doesn't answer. On Monday, I got a random thing on my email for me to leave a Google review for Ashley Marine. I'm like, all right, perfect. So like 5 in the morning, I leave this review about bad communication. 1-star review, the communication's horrible. I'm at 10 phone calls, 4 voicemails, no call back. I didn't even mention any of the warranty issues. This was just a review about communication. An hour later, the service manager calls me and he's like, hey, Ashley or Patrick Ashley, I don't even know. The owner just called me upset because he saw your review. He's like, what can I do? And I'm like, what do you mean? What can you do? And I guess he wanted me to change the review, maybe lie. I'm not really sure what he wanted me to do, but he kind of changed a little bit. He was a little bit more wanting to be helpful, I guess, because there was a bad review and they wanted it changed, is what I'm assuming. I don't know. So at that point, he goes, all right, we put a 60 amp circuit breaker on there for you, so we're not going to charge you for that, which I had told him there was a 60 amp circuit breaker in the compartment I bought. They could put that on there, and that way they just install it. They're not having to pay for a circuit breaker, but they put their own on there. He said the mechanic took the fuel line apart and said that it did have the wrong clamp on it, so he put the correct type of clamp on it and buttoned the whole thing back together the right way, which it's missing all the ties that keep all the wires together, but you know, it is what it is. I can buy some ties to put on there. I'll probably just put zip ties on it, but it had much nicer ones on there. Then the trailer, he says it was $42 for the trailer wiring. I keep the labor at like 0.2 hours or whatever, so it would just be $42. Okay, that's fine. So then the seat, he says, and I got great news. The seat came in after 1 week. He told me it would be 7 to 8 weeks, which I knew it wouldn't because the first seat they sent me only took 2 weeks to get to my house. Seat came in, he said, we got the seat on, so the seat is good to go. And so you're ready to pick it up, and we're gonna wash it for you. So pick it up, and you can pick it up Saturday if you want to. Okay, great. And then I tried to call 2 more times on that Wednesday and that Thursday leading up to the Saturday I'm supposed to pick it up, because I just wanted to make sure one more time that it was gonna be there, or somebody was gonna be there. And then he did call me back this time, but he just called me back to say that they just got the boat washed and I could pick it up on Saturday as planned. All right, great. So Saturday rolls around. I drive down there, I get there, I walk in, they find that their lead tech is there, super nice guy, like really nice guy. And he's like, all right, let me pull it up in the system. He pulls up in the system, and you can just tell by all the pauses and the confusion looking at the screen, he's nervous about what's about to happen. And he says, all right, it's $128. And I'm like, for what? And he, I'm about to play this audio. He goes, for what? And I'm like, I thought it was gonna be warranted. And he's like, I don't really know, let me look. And then I couldn't understand what he said in real life, and I couldn't understand what he said in the video or the sound afterwards, but he mentioned something about the fuel line and the breaker. So he didn't even mention the trailer. And then I said, everything is supposed to be warranted. It's only a year old. And then he looks at me and goes, oh, I didn't know that. I'm gonna go get the boat for you. He goes, gets the boat for me, pulls it around with the tractor. And then I said, am I good to go? And all he said was go. So I left. I said, thanks, have a good one. And he said, you too, buddy. Something like that. Like I said, really nice guy. It looked like he was trying to just avoid confrontation, as if he was like anticipating me being confrontational or something. I'm not really sure. But from that experience, I bought the boat at Ashley Marine a year ago. I know it's an Express and they're Ashley Marine. I bought it in Columbus, but Columbus doesn't service them. So the service center is in Salem, Alabama. It's the same distance from my house to Columbus to Salem, Alabama. So it doesn't make a difference to me. But that's who I bought it from, and I expect, them to treat me like I bought an expensive boat there. And maybe it's not the most expensive, but it's $40,000, so that's a good bit of money to me, and I feel like I should be taken care of. I should mention that a couple months ago, I talked to them about a couple of the problems, and he said, don't worry about the warranty. We're gonna take care of it. If you're only a month or two or whatever, it's no big deal. He's like, I understand the distance, and it's no problem, man. So I took that to heart when I listened to him and trusted him. And then he didn't fix the trailer. The fuel line back there, he told me don't trim it up. I'm like, that's not our fix. I found lots of forums where people had static plates installed that separated the motor, just an inch or two from there, and made that clearance without largely affecting how the motor performed on the boat. Not a jack plate, just basically a washer to separate the motor a little bit. So there was other options. There was other things they could do. They could put a sleeve on there. There's a lot of things they could do. They could have put a little extra fuel line so that it could flex. So I felt like I can't recommend them. I can't recommend them. This is just from my experience. Somebody else might have a better experience, but ultimately I left without paying. They sent me on with my boat, said have a great day, and that is my experience. So overall, would I buy the boat again? Absolutely, 100% I would buy the boat again. I love it. Most of the complaints are minor and could totally be fixed. It's exceeded my expectations. I've enjoyed it. My family loves it. I would 100% buy it again if this was my price range. And honestly, I don't even have any boats that I'm looking at. They're like, man, I sure would love to have that if I had more money. This is all I need. I might put a T-top or something like that on it. So, but that would be about it. Maybe hydraulic steering, just because it has that torque steer, but pretty much all boats have that. So that's not like a deal breaker for me. I would 100% get this boat. I would not get it at Ashley Marine unless you had already talked, because they do have the cheapest price. But maybe if you're for sure that you can go get the Yamaha service as a Yamaha dealer, which you can, if any Express dealer will work on it under Express's warranty. Like if that's the case, then you can get it at Ashley Marine. But besides that, I can't, in good faith, tell somebody to go buy one at Ashley Marine. And the bad part is I recommended my buddy to go buy his there, and he did. And now he's like, well, crap. So what am I gonna do if mine messes up? And I'm like, I don't know, dude. So I love the boat. I love the boat. I had a bad experience with warranty, but I know a lot of y'all had questions about it, and there you go. That's what happened. I got my seat fixed. The trolling motor's got a new breaker on it. I'm about to put it in the water, and if anything goes wrong, I'll definitely show it and let you know. And I'm gonna show a brief clip of unloading it and loading it. It's really easy to do, and I love this boat. And I appreciate y'all watching so much. It means so much to me. Like and subscribe for sure. I'm gonna do a review video soon. Like a review video. My buddy's got a 26 model. It doesn't have all these problems. It's almost the exact same boat, but it's a 26 model. And we're gonna put them side by side, and we're gonna go through each of them and eat the little things that he don't like. He does have a jack plate and hydraulic steering. So you'll get to see pretty much the same boat, but with a few more features and a few less features, if that makes any sense. All right, I'll see y'all on the next one. So for this one, I just pull the fenders just under the water. We're braking at the surface. The back of the boat just floated up a little bit. I let it down with the winch. It comes off great. If it don't come off, that's all right. All right. It should just let me back it off of here. Maybe with a little persuasion. Little persuasion. There's a boat out here. He's having trouble cranking it. He might need help. Okay, so you see the fenders. What we do is we run it down until the fenders are flirting with the water. Right there. That should be good. We do have a little wind to our right, but it ain't no thing. Get the motor straight and send her up there. I used to check to see if the boat went straight on the back there. After I did it 50 times crooked and it was straight every time, I quit checking. It will straighten itself up. There's a wasp nest in there. All right, so now trim it up a little bit, just so it's high enough not to rub. Climb off the front right here onto my little step I put down and tighten this winch up. I got it hand tight. Go about 4 or 5 more inches. That's it. It's on there. Y'all know I already found the only shade here.